Alrighty. Hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of D&D Prep on here on the workshop. Today we're going to be working on content for tonight for my game, a high-level campaign game for our crew. Let's see if we can figure out what the heck we're going to do. As we have we're in a cool situation, a cool spot. Let's try to be creative and come up with something that's neat for the players. And there's some kind of few restraints today, actually, in what we can and can't do, how far we can push, with the timing that we have, the amount of stuff that we can get through. I'll explain here in a minute. So, we don't have as much leeway as we normally would. There's also a little bit of like outside game influence, I guess I want to say, that influences like kind of what I want to provide. What I want to provide in terms of gameplay today for the players. So what I want to, anyway, I'm gonna stop fumbling over my words. I have had only one coffee today. I was up late yesterday playing Among Us with the crew. That was a lot of fun, and then some code names. But I did go to bed at like 2 in the morning and had to get up at 6:30 or something. So I'm a little bit beat up. Anyhow, and then part of the conversation kind of today, where we always have a bit of a theme. Somebody mentioned, so I had put a question out, I don't know if on Twitter or on Reddit somewhere, and somebody asked me, when do I stop making mistakes? I think was sort of the question. It was a bit more specific than that, around specifically combat and how do I make sure that I run combat properly? What if I forget rules? Which is, I think, part of the broader question of, how do I not make mistakes? Which is essentially, we'll get to that eventually when we get to that topic. So I want to talk about the idea. I don't need this, actually. I'm not listening to anything. And then you get to see my beautiful bald head, which I need to shave. I've been lazy. So the conversation then around the mythical, elusive, perfect session. And we'll get to that in a minute. But I'll be excited to hear if anybody from chat pops up with it. Of course, I've had many perfect sessions. But I have lots to say about that. So, today we're organizing, or we're trying to come up with some theme, some gameplay session for tonight. So let's give a little bit of background on what's been happening to our party, and that's where we're at in Foundry, #Foundry. Great thing, love Foundry. I think it's a wonderful tool. I've had a lot of luck with Foundry as opposed to Roll20, but it's fine. Everything's great. I just prefer this tool. So, super quick recap. Maybe not super quick. Some amount of recap and setting up the stage as to what we want to do tonight. The players have been in the Feywild for a hot minute. It's been 4 sessions now since they've arrived there. They've accomplished quite a bit. So their main intention of coming into the Feywild is twofold. One, escape the ravages of somebody who's in the prime material plane doing all kinds of mean stuff. And this was their avenue of escape. Had they stayed further behind, they would have been overwhelmed. This was intentional, or an option they could have taken, and they chose to go into the Feywild. Perfect. Once they want to have the ability to go back to the prime material plane moments after they entered it. And the way I'm playing it, and I think this is book specific, but you can do whatever you want, is that time flows differently in the Feywild. Time flows also differently, I think, in the Shadowfell, some of those. The standard, a day in the Feywild could be 100 years in the prime material plane, or it could be a second. So they want to ingratiate themselves enough to a powerful entity in the Feywild to leverage their powers to send them back to the prime material plane right when they leave, so that they come reinvigorated, re-energized, and are ready to kick some butt with somebody who's maybe a little bit more world-weary at this point. The second part of it is there's a player, so there's a story arc attached to this, with a player whose NPC sibling is ill and she wants to cure them. So this NPC, Hecate, was once a player character that guested on our game. It's somebody's wife, and she came and played with us, and it was great. And she became sort of this breadcrumb tether thing that we could go back to, and we've come back to it now. So they made a deal with an Archfey, saying, "Hey Archfey, can we please make sure there's no music playing that's going to get me DMCA'd?" No. can you please heal my sister? And the Archfey is like, I can, but I'm kind of dealing with two very troublesome situations. Go take care of one for me. I'll handle the other. By the time you're done, I'll be able to heal your sister. So they've done that. They set off the quest being, again, I want to sort of introduce them to the Feywild, get them to experience like cool scenes and vistas. They enter the body of enormous city turtle thing, a Zaratan, which is absolutely enormous. It's a walking mountain, essentially. And they went inside of it. We'll skip some of the details. And there, with this cool map from Seppuku, I want to say again, I want to give a shout out, as always, because he does great work. Is this, oops, is this a Seppuku map? I zoom out, make my life easier. Okay, this, I'm not sure if this is Seppuku or not. I think it is. Anyway, so they ventured in here, they encountered a Nightwalker. It became an amazing fight, and by the skin of their teeth, and by the way, teeth don't have a ton of skin, so this is a very tight affair. They managed to kill the Nightwalker. It was a there were some lessons learned, but overall, I think it went well. It was, the drama was high, the tension was high, and they were successful. Huzzah, champions! Cool. So they've killed the Nightwalker. A byproduct of killing the Nightwalker, they killed the Zaratan. It's fine. Everything's great. So they've accomplished what the Archfey sent them out to do. So tonight, I had reached out to the player and asked her, are you willing to come back and reprise your role as Hecate, the ranger? And she, you know, said, let's see what we can make happen. I'm hoping she can, so I'm organizing it if she can, and if she can't, then I'll just be the NPC. It's not a huge deal. So if she comes or not, regardless, phrasing, whether or not the player shows up, I want that arc to be sort of very minimal and constrained. Just because I know there's a little bit of player fatigue now around the Feywild, and they're like, there's a bunch of stuff that's left for us to do in the Prime Material Plane. Can we please get back to the main storyline? Sure. But this is the conclusion of the story arc of this character here. So, the story for Hecate, and that's kind of what we need to work on tonight, is how do I tie this back and make it interesting and make it maybe a slightly longer session. I'm giving myself 3.5, maybe 4 hours tonight, if they're willing to stretch a little bit. So we'll try to start at 7 and end at 10:30, but really pack it in if we can. So without going too much into details for Hecate's backstory, the essence of it is Corellon, the god of the elves, or one of the gods of the elves of the Eladrin, had requested that she comes to him, which happens occasionally, I think, in the lore, where he's like, he's going to call one of his servants and get them to do something for him. Something went awry. He's going to get revived, and Corellon was simply the god of, the god of the elves, or the Eladrin, in the Feywild, needs something of Hecate. And I want it to be something cool, something definitive, something that's going to just close that chapter and send them off in a different, those two characters. So the assumption is that when Hecate wins, finishes her arc, then Ilaria/Celeste, her sister, will go along with her. And I know the player wants to retire that character and bring somebody else new. So that's a really good sunsetting sort of moment. So what we need to come up with is a reasonable quest that's interesting enough, that can fit in a 4-hour time, 3.5, 4-hour time constraint, that feels satisfying. And if the player decides to come, then she can accomplish that without me imposing on her schedule later, and without me turning it into an NPC. I kind of want her to have a say in what happens. So that's the challenge. And to my awesome few viewers in chat, I'm going to look at the list here. I think I've got Wizards here. Wizard, you're always full of great ideas. I'm not sure I see a bunch of bots. Hello, bots. My usual friends and companions. But if anybody has suggestions, what we need to come up, so I'll sum it up again. The god of the Eladrin needs something from this player. What is it? So I've had a few ideas, but I don't know that they're good. And they're in the Feywild, and I kind of want to lean in that even more, if I can help it, and make it more fun, and make it exciting. So some of the ideas, or I think generally the idea is going to have to be, it could be roleplay, but I want to give her a chance to, if she comes, to play her level 14 ranger, just because it's really fun. I think it's going to have combat in it. There's no ifs and buts about it. And so what that means is, at this level of gameplay, the combat, I want it to be exciting and fun and interesting and narratively satisfying. So I think everything else, and those combats at this level are going to take, it's probably going to take an hour or an hour and a half. Right, we've got 6 players tonight, because there's a guest player. So that's 1 action, 1 bonus action, 1 reaction per, so like roughly 18 pieces of action in terms of action economy, which is a lot. Which means the fight's going to drag on. Every player that you add per round or per turn, I find adds about between 5 and 7 minutes. And that's with them, thinking, communicating, getting it done. Some of them will go a lot faster, but on average, like 5 minutes, especially at this level of play where you might be a little bit confused about what your options are. I could speed that up. I know there's tips and strategies, and we can talk about that maybe at some point on speeding up combat. But the intent here is not to rush them through. I want them to have fun, have time. I don't want to necessarily unduly pressure them, and I want them to get through the fight in a way that they want to. So if we know we want to have a fight, and we want to have like a meaningful fight, at this level, what is that fight going to be, and what does the story need to be? An idea that I had, and I've presented this as breadcrumbs and details of lore to the players over the past few weeks, is the concept that the Feywild has and this is not mine, like obviously this is just the lords and ladies of the Feywild, right? There's the Archfays, and you can have these sort of noble individuals in the Seelie or Unseelie court if you want to get into that, but I skipped that whole description for them. And the Feywild is broken into 4 kingdoms, at least in terms of Eladrin. You've got the winter, summer, spring, and fall, pretty standard. We're playing Frozen, the game at this point. And so these are the 4 kings and queens of the Feywild. What you also have in between are the lords of the Fey. So there's I had bought some time ago a supplement that was really great. I'll shout them out. Tome of Beasts is quite fantastic. And Tome of Beasts elaborates to some extent on the concept of that, the Lord of the Fey. And I will not show stat blocks on stream that are not part of the SRD, and this is definitely not part of the SRD, so I will respect their copyrights. But I will say, if you have the book, on page 184, well, I have the PDF, I don't have a hard copy, and it's well worth it. I think it's like $20 on the DM's Guild. Anyway, worth investing in. It might be on a discount. They have the concept of like these lords and ladies, the Fey lords and ladies. So there's the Bear King, the Moonlit King, there's the Lord of the Hunt, the Queen of Night, the Snow Queen, Queen of Witches. Like there's a bunch of them, all of them being very vulnerable to the touch of iron wrought weapons, pretty standard, in terms of like the being weak to iron stuff. And one of them kind of struck my fancy, the Lord of the Hunt. So if you are familiar with the concept or I think it's in Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time series. I think there's the idea of like this hunt that goes on. I think that's a thing. I want to say that I remember reading about that, but that was like 100 years ago. And so this is very much the same idea. There's this Lord of the Hunt that leads this endless hunt, the Wild Hunt, through the Feywild, and they're hunting a bunch of stuff. And Fey creatures that get caught up in the hunt, like they just get swept up in this frenzy, and they just go, what's the word I'm looking for? Just careening through the Feywild and just slaying beasts and Fey dark creatures or whatever. They have like these shadow hounds with them that just go. There's the of course you have to have that picture of that the horn or the trumpet that they're probably blowing that sounds some kind of cool way. And there's like they're always chasing some quarry, like this endless quarry. So what I like the idea is that this is a necessary individual in the ecology, in the balance of the Feywild. So if that's the case, what could Corellon want from the player? I think there are options here. I think we can investigate, and it's pretty cool. So first, I think I want to deal with the Lords of the Fey. So one of two things. Either one of the Lords of the Fey or Ladies of the Fey died, and there's now a gaping hole in the hierarchy structure of the Fey Lords, and it needs to be filled. Yes, Perrin finds the horn because he's the wolf after. If I remember, there we go. It's like, yeah, it's something with it, right? Like I don't think I'm making this up. There's like this, and it calls up the dead, or it's very Lord of the Rings, where like it calls up like all the it's not the it's like the hunters of the past, right? Like these amazing heroes of the past that show up and like sort of help. Anyway, so one of two things, right? In my mind, either one of the Fey nobles is dead, has perished, and it needs to be filled. Quest. Alternatively, one of the Fey leaders has become corrupt, is trying to upset the hierarchy, has challenged Corellon, is doing some stuff that's like big no-no, opening the door to like Zoriat or the Far Realm, or some kind of funky stuff. And it's up to the players to go stop it. And then, who knows what happens next. So, I like both ideas. The challenge is, if I really want to try to fit this into one session, so if I had 2 sessions, I think I go with the concept of the Fey Lord or Lady being corrupted. And I've dropped some nuggets already for the players, especially about the Winter Castle, I forget what I called it, the Frosty Frosterson, totally, aka Winnipeg. What the hell did I call it? The Frost Veil. So the Queen of the Frost Veil, the Lady Queen of the Frost Veil, the Queen of Night, or the Queen of Winter rather, she might have finally just lost her damn mind, the Snow, and decided that their duty is to guard the realms of the Fae against intrusions from otherworldly, extraplanar activity. Because the Feywild abuts against other planes and the cosmology, and their duty is quite literally to defend the realms of the Eladrin and the Fae against these intrusions. Maybe the Queen has been corrupted, and there needs to be like some situation dealt with there. Option, right? If I had 2 sessions, I think I run full blast into that direction, because you have to now deal with court intrigue. There is some roleplay to be done. You have to suss out what's going on, and eventually, when you reveal the true breadth and width of the corruption, that's a fun word to say. The breadth and width of the corruption that they discover in the court. Challenge, fight with the queen, boom, super cinematic, and the like a frozen courtroom, and there's like icicles and yetis or ice elementals that form themselves. Shards of stuff being flung around. Boom, boom, boom. Great cinematic fight, and the blood being the vibrant red blood on the white snow and ice. It makes for a very visually cinematic and pleasing sequence, right? Like, it's just super cool. However, because I don't have that much time, we're gonna shrink it. So I think it has to be, unfortunately, or maybe we're gonna make it work, I hope, is that one of the lords or ladies of the Fae is passed, and they have to go and figure out what the hell killed it, and then maybe they'll take its place. So then, if that's the case, the one lord that comes to mind has to be the Lord of the Hunt. He's not attached to any one realm. He just traverses through. And because he does so, and he's the Lord of the Hunt, and this player is a ranger, or the NPC at least is a ranger, I think it makes sense to me to have some massive, enormous beast, or devil, or demon, something the hunt's been after forever, right? Couldn't it just be something that the hunt's been after forever? And they've caught it. They've caught up to it. And unfortunately for the Lord of the Hunt, there was a little bit more than he could shoot. Him and his little group of huntsmen and revelers and hounds and all of that. And he just got his ass whooped. And now he did. Now he did. Now there's no more Lord or Lady of the Hunt. And that's a problem. And Corellon knows it's a problem. That quarry needs to be on the run. We can decide what that quarry is in a minute. I like that. I think thematically, cinematically, and time constraint wise, it makes a lot of sense. And the god doesn't want to involve himself, because the second the gods start fiddling around directly and appearing, it opens the door to maybe other gods to do the same. And here we are now into a full-blown war of the gods, and that's not what we're about. That's not what we're about. Not yet. So I like that idea. I think that concept's good. So I think we're going to run with that. Yeah. Now the challenge is to figure out what the hell they're after. What is it that's big enough, mean enough, strong enough, and cool enough for the players to be like, yo, this is badass. I like this. So I have some ideas, and there are multiple books I can pull from. Sure. The Beast was released or unleashed by someone who's actually, oh, that's so good, Wizard. That's so good, and you don't know why that's good, but I will tell you why that's good. The underlying theme of this whole campaign. So this is a Princes of the Apocalypse campaign that's been like super modified, and there's this complex where I'll give some really deep backstory here. Sorry, this complex where at the beginning of time, the gods banded together and fought the Titans, and this is pretty standard Forgotten Realms nonsense. So Tharizdun was there, right? The chaos of the elements, fire, air, avatars, pretty standard stuff. The gods got together and said, we need to organize this plane, and we're going to take the more extreme elements, and we're going to shunt them to their planes of existence, right? The plane of air, plane of fire, plane of water, and plane of earth. But on top of it, what they've done is they've taken those powerful entities and trapped them in this prison, and that there the Titans dwell. And the entire premise of this campaign has been that the prison's starting to break, and nobody knows why. But it's been appearing as like issues of weather problems. Cults have been popping up, hearing the whispers of Tharizdun, the elemental eye, who's just telling them to do this and stuff. So in order to complete their task, they've been on the hunt for these 4 keys. Go back to the prison, unlock the door, go in there, fix whatever the hell the problem is, and then lock it up again and be like, cool, peachy keen. So, how does this tie into what you just said? Because you're a genius, Wizard. You don't know this, but you're in fact a genius. Maybe you knew this, but Wizard, you are in fact a genius. The creature that could have been unleashed into the Feywild could have been something that escaped from the leak in the prison of the Titans. Why not? Why couldn't it be an elemental Titan that is now traipsing around the Feywild? It's been injured to some extent, and so they don't have to face it at full strength if I took like a pure stat block. But it could be something that they need to send back, right? So what could that be? So all that to say, your idea is great, and I can totally tie to the story, and it makes complete sense. So I've got a bunch of extra books that are out of, not the monster manual that I could look at. There's one of the Asian themed sort of monsters. I bought that some time ago as well. Again, I can't share that on stream, or maybe I can, but I won't, because these people work very hard for things, and I don't feel betraying their trust. Where is it? Tome of Beasts is not it. Monsters of the Orient. There are some creatures there that I could maybe borrow from the complete bestiary. And this has to be mean. Okay, before looking directly at stat block, we need to pick a theme of what it is. And I think elemental craziness in the Feywild is pretty cool. And then we can look at a stat block. So how do we... What is something that is like thematic on point that could be here and doing all kinds of nasties? All kinds of nasties. I mean, they've been farting around for long enough that the prison could have like literally let out one of the princes of the elements, right? And those are Ogremmox, Imix, forget, Hydra, something like that, and where's my book? This is exciting viewing. Shoot. But upstairs for the Princes of the Apocalypse. Here, I'm gonna. Oh man, do I have it on D&D Beyond? Let's look. Called. What's it called? I don't remember. Boom. All Hydra. Yeah, All Hydra is right. And I don't remember. I don't remember what they're called. I know Imix, Elhydra, Ogremok, Ogremok. Oops. Yes, that's right. And who's the other one? Who's the evil prince of air? Is Elhydra, right? Boy. Let me Google it. I'm just straight up gonna Google it. I can't find it. The Princes of Elements in Princes of the Apocalypse. What are they called? Yes. Oh, dndwizards.com. And this is gonna bug me. Anyway, maybe one of those 4 creatures has escaped and is now being a bit of what we call a douche nozzle. A douche nozzle. What are they called? Oh, there's a wiki. Nope. Okay. It's fine. I don't care. I don't need to find it. So one of these 4... Is that too strong? Challenge rating CR20? No, I think that's probably appropriate. Cool. Okay, alright. So Wizard, what do you think about that? What do you think about that one idea I threw out there? We need more ideas. But it could be that the hunt has finally found its quarry. Maybe it's not what they expected. And it's just like... walking around the Feywild. Could be an avatar representation of one of the princes of elements. I kind of like the idea of Ogremok being out there, the prince of the of Dark Earth, because he has the ability to make more earth elementals, so it's not just like one big boss fight. There's also a bunch of stuff that he has around him. He'd also be causing earthquakes, and I think I like that idea. And the point is, it's not in the prime material plane. So, the realms of men have not yet been awakened to this issue, that it got shunted here, and they're slowly sort of destroying the Feywild instead. But I like that idea, and if they kill it, or if they banish it, which that's what it would happen, it wouldn't die, it would just get banished back to the prison. We'd have to have some kind of thing to do that. Maybe when they see it walking around, it has like these enormous shackles that have been broken. And if they do something to that, it sends it back. I don't know. I'll have to think about the fight mechanics in a second. So if they defeat it, then the NPC, or the player character, Hecate, becomes the new Lord of the Hunt. That or the Celeste, one of the two, I don't much care. Then their arc is done, and now they have to take care and eternally hunt in the Feywild. I think that's a great ending. I think that's a very good ending for that story arc, right? I think that makes sense to me, and I really like it. And I'm going to go with that. So let's take some notes. Let's get some shoes. Let's take some notes. Do this. Notepad. Alright, notepad. So what do we got? We got so we'll start with the standard player wakes up, and I'm not gonna go make them hunt. Like when they go back to the person who cured them, I don't want them to go looking for the god. The god is there. God appears. We're just gonna be super heavy-handed with this, and the god says, "Hello, go do this for me." So here we have some exposition and lore, and possibility of roleplay, which is great. I need you to go and make your way to so-and-so, and in fact, I will save you the hassle, and I will send you there myself through a teleportation spell so that we can just get a move on without having to deal with... Or, I'll give you a cool mount, because Hecate lost her beast, which she used to have a T-Rex. I want to kill her like a very cool creature. Yeah, exactly. The god shows up like, hey, you need to get this done. I need this done today. Also, P.S. Here's a cool mount. and you guys can just get on your way and get her done. So what mount do I give them that's really cool and flavorful and will not follow the players out of here? What is just, it could be a little bit OP, I don't care, it just needs to be fun. Did we just straight up give him like some kind of Fey Dragon as a mount, as a beast companion? Because I like that idea. I like that idea. What is... Let's try to find... Because I had given her a T-Rex, which was really dope. An undead T-Rex, and she loved it. What is a dinosaur that flies? A pterodactyl? Is there a stat block for a ptero? Yeah, exactly. That's the point. Exactly. What's a flying... Alright, you know what? That's right. Hunters have animal companions. That's correct. See, you and I are thinking... Yeah. That's exactly the point. That is exactly... Exactamundo. Let's look for these things. Alright. So... I want to have said that. I think I want to give them something that flies, right? Just to make it really cool. A Lord of the Hunt that flies? What? Amazing. Obviously the creature could also choose to... Is it just like a Pegasus? A dragon feels pretty cool though. Let's see. Ideas. Ideas. So something that's good. Yeah, it could be a dragon. Like, let's just go nuts with this. And that way the boss can just be like proper hard. And it could be like a fun, involved thing. Or a winged T-Rex. Just a T-Rex stat block with wings. Because reasons. And that would be dope. AF. Right? Well, that'd be pretty dope, I think. A griffin? No, it needs to be beefier than a griffin. They're now in the Feywild I want it to be, and they've been describing like dinosaurs and stuff with them. What's a cool mount? A cool... eagle, no. I want it to be cooler. I want it to be super awesome. I want it to be... Yeah, and plus, like, the player freaking loves dinosaurs. I'm gonna give her a flying dinosaur of a kind. So what dinosaur? What's a dinosaur? Where do I find a listing of all dinosaurs? Can I do that for D&D? D&D Beyond? D&D Beyond! Let's see. Dino... Oh my god, I cannot type. What is the high... Yeah, T-Rex is the highest dinosaur. Guess what? You're getting yourself a flying dinosaur tonight. Cool. Corellon says... Here, have a flying dinosaur. Oh wait, what was the other stat block that my wife, when she played a druid, would often turn into like this? No, what was it called? Deinonychus? What CR is a Deinonychus? No, not Deinonychus. Quetzalcoatlus. Oh, that's only CR2. Get out of here. Nah, flying dinosaur, flying T-Rex time. Boom, yeah. How cool is that? I have a flying T-Rex, and I'll ask the player to describe what that looks like. Sick. It's just a T-Rex stat block, and I'll give it flying speed of same of its walking speed, 50 feet. 50 feet flying. There. Now the fight is broken into two different sections. You've got the top section with the head. Okay. So the story is Lord of the Hunt found its quarry. Did not go well. Empty spot in that hierarchy. Is that how you spell hierarchy? No spell check. That's ballsy. And they need to go and remove said quarry, which is in fact one of the lords or princes of the elements. Right? So who do we want? We have Ogremok. I think is the most thematic that I kind of like. I can also look at the other books that I have. Monsters of the Orient might have something cool in it. The specific monster is not super important. We just need it to be... we need to figure out what the fight looks like. So tonight's a big fight night. UFC meets D&D. So what is it that I want them to fight? What is, like, how do we, okay, if it's Ogremok, or if it's like some enormous titan that they're going to fight, how do we make it interesting? How do we make it dynamic? How do we make it so that it's not just like a very static, I attack, you attack, right? So in the stat block that Ogremok has, he can pull boulders out of himself and create more earth elementals, right? So that could be what's going on. So we'd have, again, I can't share the stat block, but I can describe it. Oh, dude, that dude has 526 hit points. That's good. That's beefy. That lasts a long time. He's got multi-attacks. Can summon elementals. Legendary actions. I kind of like that. He can also create a gargoyle. You know what? Ogremok's just great. So he's creating... Okay, so Ogremok. I think we're just going to use that stat block. So he's creating earth elementals plus gargoyles, because he is beginning a pseudo invasion of the Feywild, and because the Lord of the Hunt died, everybody's sort of squabbling, maybe, or maybe they haven't been awoken, or they're refusing to help, or the Queen of the Winter Eladrin are too busy fighting off some other kind of incursion because there's more of a leak. So I want them to kill Ogremok. So how does that fight look like? So let's see. Let's break it down in stage. Let's make it like Onyxia from World of Warcraft, right? Stage 1. They have to get through maybe all the minions that are around, and he's in the distance just chucking boulders. I mean, they're fast enough to probably get around that. So we have to decide what stage 1 looks like. Stage 1 and then stage 2. Let's do a multi-stage fight. And then that'll be exciting and fun. The 500 hit points gives me, I mean, the hit points largely don't matter. They can be whatever the hell I want them to be, but how do we make this a crazy dynamic fight? How do we make this crazy fun? So, ideas. What do we do here? How do we make this fun? They arrive, there's a scene, there's a crater where he's just, what, burrowing down? Yeah, he's the Lord of... Yeah, okay, he's burrowing downwards through the Feywild. And before they can even approach him, they're being assaulted. Assaulted by minions. So this could be gargoyles and earth elementals. So pretty straightforward. And that's intended to use a little bit of their abilities. And he is just throwing boulders from below. What else? What does he have? Lair actions. What can he do? Earthquakes, difficult terrain, make creatures restrained. Sure. Sinkholes and fissures are appearing. Okay, so earthquake is the thing he's doing, and what is he trying to get at? He's just chucking boulders from far away, I guess. That's not super exciting though. Hey, Slathino. We're trying to decide how to make a boss fight fun and exciting. That has multiple stages in it, that challenges the players without it feeling super grindy. I guess we only have 3 hours, so already the whole first bit's going to take at least 30-35 minutes. That leaves them 2.5 hours. Okay. As they fight him... Oh no, we could do it the other way around. As they fight him and he gets broken down, he gets just broken down into smaller pieces. We just do like the ooze concept, right? They fight him. Once he hits a certain threshold, he explodes into a shower of elementals and gargoyles. So now the skies and the grounds are busy. Fight's going to get a bit more complicated. Let's say 4 earth elementals, 4 gargoyles. We even a bit the action economy. That's interesting. And what do they need to grab to banish this guy back? Maybe... Okay, yes. Alright, let's do it this way. He needs to be banished back to the prison plane, right? So, what if he has specific crystals on his body that are that are what tie him to this plane? So they destroy the crystals. Like they're fighting at this time, right? They're fighting and they just need to focus on the crystals. They break. He has I don't know, 6 crystals for whatever reason, and they have a certain amount of hit points and armor class. We can figure this out later. Maybe they're hardened adamantite crystals. Let's just make up an entirely new thing. So these hardened adamantite crystals have an AC of 20, which is not super high. Maybe we can make it 22 because at this point they'll have plus 11 to hit or so. So this is a 50% chance of hitting. Let's make it 21. I want to give the edge to them. And they each have 50 hit points. Because they're construct type things, they're immune to like the standard, immune to poison, psychic, etc. Like the mental stuff. They're just inert items. If they blow up 3 of them, when 3 are down, we enter stage 2. Stage 2 is him blowing up into a bunch of minions, right? Earth elementals and gargoyles. And 3 of them become these 3 sentient earth elementals. So these are going to be the crystalline, adamantine, earth elementals. Maybe there are 2 of them and 1 gargoyle. Let's try to keep it on point. And if they kill all of them, then it banishes him back. Okay. So 6 times 50 is 300 hit points worth of stuff. In the meantime, he's chucking boulders, he's doing stuff, there are other elements. I think I like that, right? Does that sound like a fun fight to you guys? Like you're walking around, you see this enormous creature that has just killed the Lord of the Hunt. An enormous titan of stone and boulders, sheer sides with glowing rocks that are just embedded into it as he's walking through the Feywild countryside, leaving a trail of destruction. He's begun divesting himself of these elementals that are spreading his influence. He wants to make this his new home, right? It's still pretty new. You're catching this relatively early. It was a threat before, but it's revealed itself. Taking out the Lord of the Hunt, the armies of the Eladrin have not had time to collaborate or get together to do anything. The Feywild or other creatures are terrified and they're sort of staying away. Maybe this is far enough in like some region of the Feywild. Maybe it's in the Fey Dark. That's why they haven't dealt with it. Sure. Right, it could be in the Fey Dark. Underground. So the he's in the Fey Dark, traipsing around. Sure, like these. I don't know. I like the idea of a large, enormous cavern the size of a continent, right? We're in the Fey Dark with crystals that are glowing themselves. And he's just like burrowing his way upwards. He wants to get to the surface. There, let's reverse it a little bit. Causing all manners of earthquake above. No, I mean the crystals would be kind of separated. We'll have to figure out exactly how to represent this creature on board, but I'll describe them as like maybe a crystal in his forehead, shoulders, where the heart might be. And what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 more in his knees, right? They're kind of spread out, and they have to decide which one they're going to hit. He is... How tall is this Titan? How tall is Ogremok? Let's make the tippy tip top of his head. He's a Titan. He's 250 feet tall. There you go. I love that. Like, casters are going to have to get a move on to be able to reach that. They can shoot their spells, but the ranger, or the arrows, bows and arrows, right? They have longbows. The ranger, who has a flying T-Rex, can take that on upstairs. Yeah, I think that's really cinematic. This thing is just walking around. And he's in this underground cavern where they get sent. Maybe there's an underground river made of... Who the hell knows? Like, we can add a lava element to this that makes terrain dangerous as stalactites are falling as he's clobbering the walls. Yeah, okay, so we can add elements of, like, here. Stage 1, we said that. When 3 are down, stage 2. They're level 14. We have... Tonight, we have a special guest. We have 6 level 14 Slothino. So this is meant to be, like, very close to the end of the game. We're nearing the end of the game. So... 6 level 14s. Sure, instead of fighting in a cavern. Well, I like the idea of kind of maybe almost he's at the cusp of breaking out, but just for phase 1, because then there are also elements falling them, so I could add like easily dexterity saving throws as they're bobbing and weaving, diving out of the way. They have to focus on him, on elements falling on them, on these earth elementals that are around. Like I want to keep them busy. Maybe it's too much. Something to consider. Or maybe, yeah, he could have burst out and they're just outside. Yeah, exactly. The layer action is going to be boulders falling down, and he can only do it once every other time, right? And he just slams against the wall, and right, like, I can just start making those dumb noises at them, and like you need to roll a dex saving throw, and you fail, you take 25 points of damage or whatever. I mean, the flying dino could still do stuff. I know, I love the idea of the flying dino. The cave. You know, we can make it as big as we want, right? It could be like a cave that's a kilometer high, and he's just like making his way out. So, but yes, the flying dino outside is like so amazingly cool. Maybe, oh shit, why don't we just do best of both worlds? He's climbing out of a volcano in the Feywild. What? Yes. So they're in the Summer Ward then area. The Flyno. Deal. The Flyno. He's literally coming out of a volcano, pulling himself out. Maybe you can see the retinue of the Lord of the Hunt just scattered about the mountain as he's just kind of erupting out of it. This phenomenon. That could be a cool moment. Holy shnikes. That's when they arrive there on the scene. The superhero arrives on the scene and he's bursting out of a mountain. That's pretty cinematic, right? They arrive. Where is he? I don't know. What's that noise? The side of a mountain blows up. Volcano or no volcano, I don't know. Volcanoes are kind of cool. Maybe at that point, like, I'm hitting all the tropes all at the same time. But there's a, when a volcano blows up, there's like this lightning that courses through the air, right? So we've got like this amazing moment of a volcano just exploding. He steps out. Fight is on. The Flyno is just counting around doing its thing. They're fighting the things. They get 3 of the crystals. He breaks apart into a bunch of little smaller ones. Now they have to take care of the 3 remaining crystals, and once they're shattered, the energy that powers the rock falls silent, and the rocks fall in place, leaving a quiet testament to the amazing epic fight that would have happened. We can end it there, or we can introduce the concept that as they do so, they find the epic bow, legendary bow of the Lord of the Hunt, and whoever so picks it up becomes the new Lord of the Hunt, or Lady of the Hunt. Okay, I think we've got our event for tonight. I'll need to find a map, and I'll need to find tokens to properly represent this. But I think that sounds cool, cinematic. I don't know if it'll fit in a 3.5 hour window. It might. Players are always want to strategize and stuff, but I will try to limit the time so we can get through it. Still, I wanted to talk about the idea of a perfect session. So I talked at the top of the show today about this concept. I got a question from somebody saying, how do I make sure that when I run a fight, because I'm running all these NPCs, that I don't make mistakes? Which I've translated to the greater question of, is it possible to have a perfect session? And so I've done a couple of GM interviews now that I've put on YouTube. I've had many others that are not online with people. If you run D&D games and you have other GM friends, you often have those conversations. And I will honestly tell you now, in the 20 years that I've been playing some version of role-playing games, I have maybe, and I really am saying maybe here with a grain of salt, but I don't think that's true. I maybe have had one perfect session, in the sense that I didn't make a mistake. But I actually don't think that's true. I think, and mistakes don't have to be rule-specific mistakes, but there's not one session that I can think of where I didn't go, man, I should have done that better, or that could have gone better, or could have changed this, I could have changed that. Every single time I do a GM interview on my Sundays, when I ask them a question, I bring up this question: what is something that you can work on? And they can talk for probably an hour on that question alone. Because as DMs and GMs, we are very self-critical. That doesn't mean you need to be paranoid and become, a bundle of anxiety. No, what that means is Even the most experienced GMs continue to make mistakes. Even people like Matthew Mercer, who have 100,000 people tune in weekly to his show, will be the first one to admit that he's going to make mistakes, and it's okay. And it's totally normal, and it's totally fine. The true core of the role-playing games is not to play it perfectly. If your intent is to have a perfect session where the rules are all perfectly followed, but everybody's having a miserable time, I'm sorry to say you're not doing it right. So, maybe louder for the people in the back. The intent of playing role-playing games is not to have a perfect session. It's for people to have fun, yourself included. Verity said this the other day, which really stuck with me. It's everybody's responsibility at the table to make sure that everybody else has fun. And if you're having fun, you're doing it right. If you make mistakes, that's normal. I continue to make mistakes I run 4 games a week, or 3.5 games a week. Every single game that I run, I make mistakes in. And I don't care. Like, obviously, I would rather not make those mistakes, and I'm going to improve next time. Did I get under combat water perfectly right? No. Did I get this little grappling rule or interaction of spells? No. If everybody got it right, or anybody got it right, then whenever you wouldn't have these questions that exist on Twitter to Jeremy Crawford, you wouldn't have forums filled with questions about rules. The number one rule is make sure you and your players are having fun. So if you make mistakes, that's normal. If you're anxious about making mistakes, that's also normal. You will get better over time. Mistakes are, by and large, completely unavoidable, and that's okay. I have legitimately, in 20-some years of DMing, I don't think I've ever had a session I was 100% happy with. And I think, honest to goodness, I'm not just saying this to make new GMs feel good, but it's true. I don't think I've had a single session where I didn't make at least one mistake. And that's normal. The perfect session, to me, is not the session that I've gotten all the rules right. The perfect session is the session where after you tell you, that was a lot of fun, I had a great time, and you also had a great time. That's the perfect session. And if that's your goal, then by and large, most of your sessions should be perfect in that way. Everybody, or most of the players, should have a good time. There's the oddball session where things don't go right and people, you'll have a conversation, that's fine. But as you get better, your goal should be for you and your table to have a great time, and that's a perfect session, right? So, yes, Wizard, you're right. What is a perfect session for you might be the worst session for someone else. Also true. So I wouldn't call that a perfect session. Right? If I have fun as a DM or as a GM and 3 of my 5 players are having a miserable time, I have not done well. If 5 of my players are having a great time, but I'm having a miserable time, I'm also not going to call that a success. I'm equally important to this get up, right? Like if 5 players are having a great time and as a GM I'm having a miserable time, that's not meshing, right? If the 5 players want to play Diablo 3 and I want to play Gattaca, then what are we doing, right? Like, I'm probably gonna have a mental breakdown. Why am I preparing all this stuff and nobody's paying attention or nobody's having fun? What is it? A perfect session in D&D is, was everyone involved and did everyone have fun? That should be the goal. Yes, exactly. Sometimes, there are times where I have the spotlight on one particular player, and if the other players are involved, they're engaged in it, and they don't necessarily get a chance to shine, but they had fun and they're involved, that's perfectly fine. Yeah. On one thing I think about often regarding this is that on-the-fly ruling is the correct ruling because it brings the game forward instead of having to pause for 10 minutes to search through books and stuff. Yeah, one of the strategies I use, if I'm not sure, I'll make a ruling. I want to use Sentinel on a creature that has freedom of movement. Does that work? I'm not sure. I'm going to say this. If after your turn is done, feel free to look it up. Pull up the rule book. When we're in person, here's the rule book. I don't know. I'm going to make this ruling because I want to keep the combat going or whatever is happening going. You look it up. I'm going to make a ruling now. We'll go with this ruling for now. And the next round or the next time, if you can prove to me or if you can find the specific rule that I don't know, we'll go with that moving forward. But unless we can find it, I'm not, honestly, I'm probably not going to pull out a Twitter or whatever, and look for hours to find the answer. I try to make reasonable, sensible ruling. I get my players' agreement. Okay, this is how I interpret this. This is how it makes sense to me. Does that make sense to you? Well, yes. Okay, no, because X, Y, and Z. We can have a bit of a conversation for like 2 minutes about it. We try to reach a middle ground and we move forward. That's fine. But as a GM, know that ruling or making mistakes is totally normal. Over time, you'll get better about the rules part of the thing, but that doesn't necessarily make for a better, more fun session. I can run a 100% accurate rules session, and everybody would have a shitty time. I can run a session that is rules pulled out of where the sun don't shine, and everybody has a great time. And I'd rather go with option B than option A, if that makes sense. I am out of time. It is 12:58. I have to go through back to work. I appreciate your company, Wizards, Lathino, anybody else who's in chat. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate your company. We'll be back. So tonight I have my game on schedule. I think at 10:30 I have a variety stream. Might be Among Us, might be some code names, might be some GeoGuessr tonight. Feel free to come and pay us a visit, chit chat. If you want to play Among Us, I think we might have a little less of a sweaty lobby tonight because yesterday was a little bit intense, and I'd like to maybe dial it back a notch because that was something else. But it was still a lot of fun. Have a good afternoon, and Friday we have a slight change to the format. I'll be trying to do Exploration Content Friday, where I create templates or some things that you can steal and just put in your campaign. Maybe an infernal contract, the location of a ruins with some descriptions and things you can find, handouts that you can give your players to make exploration more fun, some concepts or ideas that we can talk about. So I'd love to welcome anybody with imagination ideas. I'd love to have a conversation back and forth and not just keep pulling stuff out of my butt. And then Sunday, I'm interviewing Made of Cartoons, Jordan, who is a wonderful artist for a number of very successful Kickstarters. The Humblewood Kickstarter, the Heckna Kickstarters. He's one of the major game designers and illustrators there. So we're going to have an awesome conversation on Sunday at 10:30 for an hour and a half. And I welcome you guys to come and join me then. Thanks very much. Have a great afternoon. And I hope to see you either later tonight or Friday. Okay, bye everyone.